How's going guys, welcome to the channel. In this video we are gonna see, what if Naruto got harem with Moka, Mizore and Shion. Part 3. If you wants to see awesome fanfiction like this, don't forget to subscribe. Now let's get into the video. Moka frowned as this was the second day in a row that she hadn't been able to talk to Naruto. He had been in class but was gone so quickly that she or the others couldn't get a word in with him. He hadn't been at the club either, though Jin said that he was turning in his articles on time, so it wasn't that big a deal yet. I'm worried. Kurama sighed. Naruto Koi hasn't been around for 2 days now. I know. It's not right to not have him here. Yukari nodded. There must be a valid reason as to why he isn't here. Moka reasoned. Then what is it? Mizore asked, staring at Moka. You were the last one that Naruto-kun talked to before he disappeared. I don't know. Moka sighed. After he saved me from that girl who tried to make me kill him, he took me back to my room and then disappeared. Maybe he's trying to find out who did that to you and get revenge without us getting involved. Yukari exclaimed. Maybe, but this is really making me worry more and want to help him. Kurama stated as Moka and Mizore nodded. A silence fell over them as they all contemplated the reasons that Naruto could be avoiding them. It was after they had finished working with the newspaper that the 4 of them were on their way back to the dorms when they saw Naruto in the process of beating up some thugs. What shocked the girls the most was the fact that Naruto was manipulating his own blood against them, using it to tie them up and as a weapon if they tried to get too close. As he finished the last thug, the blood on his right arm turned his arm into a blade that he placed at the throat of one of the goons. You have 3 seconds to tell me what I want to know or I will kill you. Naruto stated coldly as the man gibbered something that the girls couldn't hear, but whatever it was seemed to satisfy Naruto as he only knocked the student out before focusing on the blood and willing it into a canteen that he had on his right leg. Naruto. Moka shouted to get his attention. Turning, the blonde saw the 4 of them before turning away and walking into his rising shadow and disappearing. Wait. Kurama shouted as she chased after him, but his shadow disappeared as she fell onto the ground where it had been. Who are these guys? Yukari asked with a frown as she looked at the 7 students laying on the ground. I don't know. Mizore stated, not really paying attention to that, but having a train of thought working its way through her head as she glanced at Moka. They don't look to be in any sort of group. Moka stated as she looked one over before shaking her head and looking at Kurama, who seemed to be crushed at Naruto, leaving them like that. Why did he do that? Kurama whimpered. Is he mad at us? No way. Yukari exclaimed. Naruto is our friend. He has to have a good reason as to why he is doing this. The other 3 just exchanged looks before making their way towards the dorms, not noticing Naruto watching them from the roof of the school. So you just going to hide? Jubi asked. I'm not going to betray their trust like that by being in love with 2 of them. Naruto stated calmly. I don't want to lose them, but if I stay close to them then I might let something slip and they will think that I am worse than scum. If you stay away from them then you will lose them anyway. Jubi remarked. Maybe. But I'd rather do this on my terms than theirs. Naruto replied. You're a coward. Jubi snorted, too afraid to face the fact that you are in love with 2 different women and too scared to make the choice over which one that you want to be with. Just leave me alone. Naruto muttered as he severed the mental link and made his way towards the dorms. The next morning Moka was on her way to the school when Mizore stopped her. What's up, Mizore? Moka asked. What did you do to him? Mizore stated, glaring at the vampire. What are you talking about? Moka exclaimed. Naruto-kun. What did you do to him? I didn't do anything. Then why is he avoiding us? Mizore snapped. Right after he develops those new blood-based powers he starts to avoid us. What did you do? Nothing. Moka shouted as tears started to form in her eyes. I didn't do anything. I want you to tell me exactly how Naruto stopped you during that fight. Mizore stated. Moka explained quietly how Naruto had seemed to trance out as he used his blood to stop her, and then when she regained consciousness, he suddenly seemed detached from the world, as though he was pondering a very important question. As Moka finished explaining it all, Mizore took it all in before a few tears appeared in the corners of her eyes as she looked at Moka. I think I know what is wrong. What? When I first approached Naruto-kun and confessed my feelings, he said he only wanted to be friends for the moment, but then after he developed those ice powers, he seemed more amiable to a relationship. I think that Naruto-kun develops new powers when he falls in love with someone. Mizore explained as Moka's jaw dropped in shock. I know this sounds crazy, but it's the only thing that makes any sense. Moka stared in shock as she tried to find some reason to deny it, but in the end she knew that well there may be other reasons as to why he was acting like that. This seemed the most likely. You think that he fell in love with both of us and is now avoiding all of us because he doesn't want to hurt us? Moka asked. It makes sense. Mizore nodded. Naruto cares about all of us and doesn't want us to get hurt. If he suddenly fell in love with the 2 of us then he might be feeling guilty over the matter. And would avoid us until he either knows what to do or until he has become a real hermit. Moka finished. So what do we do? I don't know. I want Naruto-kun back, but I'm not sure if it would be fair to him to force him to choose. I know. Moka nodded. I don't want him to torture himself over one of us he wants to be with. The pair walked back towards the school when suddenly a memory surfaced in her mind of her father, discussing the fact that some yokai practiced polygamy, especially if they were incredibly powerful, so they could be sure that they passed down the best of their traits. Mizore, I think I have an idea. Moka said. It's getting worse. He's already decimated more than half of our group. One shadow figure stated to their leader. It is growing troublesome. The leader nodded, but I may have an idea. Oh? He has proven his physical capabilities to be greater than anything we expected, but what about his mental? A chuckle was earned as they prepared to try to remove Naruto Uzumaki again. It was a week after Naruto had first started his campaign against Antithesis when the girls heard the news and ran into the infirmary. What happened? Kurumu exclaimed as she ran over and hugged the unconscious blonde. We don't know for certain. Ruby sighed from her chair across the room. He was meeting with the headmaster when he suddenly was holding his head in pain and collapsed. Did he say anything at all? Yukari asked. He seemed to be having a headache, but that's it. Ruby stated. We need to do something. Mizore stated as she moved to Naruto's other side and gripped his hand, getting a glare from Kurumu for a moment before she refocused on Naruto. And we will. A voice said as she entered the room. She was an older woman, with a few gray hairs visible in her black hair that was tied up into a bun. She wore a dark business suit and moved with a cautious grace. Who are you? Kurumu asked with a frown. I am the school psychologist. Plenty of students have issues that need to be worked out, and the headmaster felt it appropriate to have a staff member here that could handle that. My name is Risa Takeda. She said calmly as she motioned for the girls to move away from Naruto as she walked over to him, placing a hand on his head and frowning. This isn't a natural sleep, someone forced it on him. I could snap him out of it and devour the nightmare, however he is embracing it, clinging to it. He doesn't want to wake up. What? The girls all shouted as Takeda stared at them before nodding her head. He doesn't want to awaken. But the problem is that his brain activity is still to acting as though he were awake. In a few days, maybe a week or two, his brain will start to hemorrhage, and even with the healing rate I am told that he possesses it will eventually be too much for him, and he will die. Takeda explained. What can we do to help him? Mizore asked as she stared at Naruto in pure worry. It is possible to send 1 or 2 people into his mind, to let them go into his dream and get him to awaken. Takeda frowned, but the risk is immense. Whoever goes in has to succeed or they will die along with him. You mean we are stuck in there with him if we go in? Yukari gulped. Yes. And only 2 at most. Takeda nodded. I would suggest someone else, but you are his closest friends, and he will be more likely to listen to what you have to say than some faculty member. I'll do it. Moka and Mizore stated at the same time. No way. I want to do it. Kurumu shouted. We don't know what we will be facing in there. And if I go in, odds are that my inner self will appear as well, so we get 2 for the price of 1. Moka stated. And I am similar to Naruto-kun in some ways, I should be able to lead us through his mind. Mizore stated. But that isn't a guarantee. Kurumu snapped. I want to go in too. Yukari snapped, but those 2 are right. What? Kurumu shouted. What are you talking about? Moka is stronger than us, and there is no telling what they will be up against in there. And we all heard about Naruto's past. Mizore relates to him more than any of us here, she could likely find him easier than the rest of us. Yukari explained. I'm worried too, but we need to keep it together for Naruto-kun. Fine. Kurumu huffed as she glared at the 2. You had better bring my destined one back. We will wake Naruto-kun. Mizore stated as she walked over to the chair on one side of Naruto's bed and sat down, with Moka taking the other. I will warn you. There is no telling what you will encounter while you are in there, so be prepared for anything. Takeda warned as the 2 nodded and felt Takeda take their hands. Now just relax and let yourselves fall asleep. It wasn't long before the 2 girls closed their eyes and opened them to find themselves standing on a smoke-filled field. Glancing around them they didn't see any signs of life, only the smoking craters and storm-covered sky. This is Naruto's mind. Mizore asked as she looked at Moka, who was also glancing around. I guess. Moka stated as she focused. We need to find him. Yes. Mizore nodded as they started walking, moving slowly through the field. As they walked they kept thinking that they saw glimpses of the blonde, but every time they fully turned to look it was gone. The pair walked for what seemed like hours until they reached a particularly large crater and saw 2 figures fighting in it, both of them Naruto. Naruto-kun. Moka shouted when she saw them, and the pair stopped and saw the 2 girls. Moka-chan. The one dressed in red exclaimed as he leapt up to her and hugged her. Mizore-chan. Th1 in blue shouted as he did the same to her. Why are there 2 of you? Moka asked as she pulled away from the hug and looked at the pair. And why are you fighting? Mizore added. We are fighting over you. The pair of Narutos replied as they glared at the other. He thinks we should be with Mizore when Moka-chan is the better choice. Hardly. The blue-garbed Naruto exclaimed Moka is great but Mizore is so beautiful. Plus she understands us. Moka understands us too. And Moka has been with us since we got to this dimension. The pair were soon back to arguing when they heard another voice behind them. Ignore them please. Naruto said as he appeared behind them. This fight has been going on for some time now and it won't resolve itself easily. Naruto-kun? Mizore asked as she looked at the blonde cautiously, taking in the black shinobi garb that he was wearing, the same gear he had worn when he had first arrived in this dimension. The real one, yes. Naruto nodded as he motioned for them to follow him. I can't say I'm surprised that you are here, but I really wish that you hadn't come. Why? Moka asked in shock. Because this only complicates things. Naruto sighed as they soon arrived at a sewer system that Naruto entered without a second thought and the girls looked slightly nervous. What are you talking about Naruto-kun? Mizore asked. As it should be obvious from my warring subconscious back there, I fell in love with both of you. And now I can't decide which one of you to be with, so I am making the only choice that I can and staying here. Naruto replied. What? The pair shouted. It's not that difficult really. I have been wrestling with this decision for some time, but in the end, whoever tried to trap me in this nightmare only gave me the way out I needed. Naruto explained. Well in here I won't have to hurt either of you. But you are. Moka exclaimed. Naruto, if you don't wake up you will die. Damn. Naruto muttered as he led them into a giant chamber with a huge gate standing there with a seal on the doors. I'm not quite ready yet. Ready? Moka shouted. You want to die? If it means sparing you both from being heartbroken by me then yes. Naruto replied. I care about both of you too much to just use you two like some bastard. There was a moment of silence as Naruto turned to face the two and was shocked when Moka slapped him, followed by Mizore doing that to the other cheek. Ooh. Nice one. Jubi chuckled from the cage as he watched the scene. I expected the uchiha to smack you for your idiocy, but not the vampire. Is that the Jubi? Moka asked in shock as she saw the size of the demon. That's him. Naruto nodded as he rubbed his throbbing cheeks. Why the hell did you hit me? Because you are being stupid Naruto-kun. Mizore stated. If you die then you will upset us and Kurumu, Yukari, and Ruby. Yeah but Naruto began. No buts. Moka interrupted Mizore, and I have already discussed this. What? Naruto exclaimed in shock. Naruto-kun, it wasn't that difficult. Mizore chuckled. You develop a new ability after saving Moka and then you avoid seeing all of us. It's not too hard. Okay Naruto chuckled. I might not be the most subtle person. Subtle? Your idea of subtle is to charge into a room and shout at them before you start fighting. Jubi chuckled. Shut it you. Naruto shouted at the giant demon who only chuckled some more anyways. I know that I'm not that subtle, but this doesn't change anything. Actually it does. Mizore stated calmly as she held Naruto's gaze. We decided to do a little research into Jinchuruki and old yokai laws. It turns out that there are instances where various yokai of S rank and above have been known to marry more than one person. What? Naruto asked in shock. What we are trying to say is that while neither of us is thrilled with the idea of sharing you, we can live with it as long as there is open communication between us. Moka explained. But. Naruto started. If it means keeping you alive then we will share you until you either decide that you love one of us or neither of us. Mizore stated. But even if you choose someone else as your one true love, I will still pursue you. Mizore-chan, Moka-chan. Naruto chuckled as he met their gaze. You two are insane for thinking that this would work. Like this isn't every man's fantasy. Jubi snorted. Stay out of this. We are having a moment. Naruto shouted. And moment ruined. Jubi snickered as Naruto glared at him. Naruto-kun, focus. Moka reminded him as the blonde chuckled sheepishly as he looked at them. So how exactly is this going to work? Naruto asked. Do you just trade days or something? We will discuss it at length once we are out of here. Moka replied, but first we need to get out. Alright. Naruto nodded. Only real way out of here is to face the nightmare. And where is that? Mizore asked. We can help you since we are stuck here with you. What now? Naruto said as he stopped walking towards the exit and turned to look at them. You mean to tell me that you two are stuck here? So if I die you die too. Well yeah, Moka chuckled as Naruto walked back towards them and smacked the backs of their heads. You two are idiots. Why on earth would you do something so risky? To get you out. Mizore stated with a huff as she rubbed the back of her head. Fine. Naruto sighed as he shook his head and went back towards the exit. And besides, I could use the help. Why, what's this nightmare? Moka asked as they made their way out of the Jubi's chamber and arrived at a dark field where two figures were standing there, two figures that haunted Naruto's nightmares on many different occasions. Kyuubi container. It is time to finally finish this. Obito Uchiha stated as he moved towards Naruto. Your friends have fallen, and you are all that is left. Madara Uchiha said coldly as he moved closer as well. Welcome to my nightmare. Naruto said these two are the most dangerous people that I have ever encountered, I couldn't beat them on my own when I fought them. Well, you aren't alone. Moka said as she closed her eyes, and suddenly inner Moka was standing there and looked at Naruto with a smirk. Anything that we should be warned about? Mizore asked. A Sharingan that they both have allows them read your movements before you make them. They both use fire jutsu, and both of them are skilled in hand-to-hand combat. Obito can go intangible to avoid hits, and that doesn't limit it to his full body, though luckily this is a dream, so he can't pull us into the Kamui dimension here. Madara can trigger the Mangekyo Sharingan that will allow him to use Amaterasu, the unquenchable black fire, and Susanoo. With Susanoo he might use his meteor jutsu, but I can handle that this time, and if he goes all the way to Rinnegan, don't let him get too close as he might be able to drain you of your Yaki. Naruto explained as they both stared at him incredulously. Are you serious? Moka asked. Yep. Naruto nodded as he cracked his neck. Told you, these are the guys that decimated the entire shinobi army. Think what I did to those lizardmen a month ago and multiply it by 10, and you have these two before they go all out. Shaking their heads they faced the two nightmare versions of Naruto's most dangerous enemies as Madara finished flashing through hand signs. Pain. Nkyaku Great Fire Annihilation. With that the massive blast of fire headed towards the three, and Mizore paled as she saw the size of the flames. Not going to happen. Naruto grinned as he held up his hands and focused as he halted the fire in front of them, and then grinned as he forced it back towards the two. As the fire hit the area where they were standing he saw Obito had phased through it, along with Madara, as he had his hand on the elder Uchiha. With a nod the three charged towards the two Uchihas as they began to fight. Naruto focused on Madara, already knowing that the former Uchiha leader was the more dangerous opponent, as he tried to hit the man with a spin kick that he blocked and aimed a punch at Naruto, who had his shadow move up and divert the blow, as Naruto landed and tried to punch the Uchiha in the face, who only smirked as he blocked the strike and headbutted Naruto. Forcing the team back as he kicked him in the stomach, sending him flying back. Once Naruto regained his footing he saw Madara charging him, swinging his battle fan towards the blonde. Frowning Naruto opened the flask on his leg and summoned the blood up to solidify in front of him as a shield that blocked the strike. You are strong, but I've gotten stronger. Naruto stated as the blood wrapped around his hands, turning them into spiked weapons as he began another taijutsu fight against Madara. But the two girls, they were finding Obito's ability to phase through attacks very difficult as they battled. Every time Moka was about to unleash a devastating attack on Obito he phased through it and countered her before she could stop him. Skidding back after one such counter Mizore managed to trap his feet in ice as Moka aimed a punch at his face, but the Uchiha only smirked as the fist passed through his face and he punched her in the stomach. You two will not stop us. He stated as he phased through the ice, stepping away and glancing around for Mizore, who had taken his back and managed to slice him with her claws. Hissing in pain Obito jumped away, starting hand signs for a fire jutsu, but Moka was on him, stopping him from finishing the hand signs and forcing him to move further and further away from Madara, where she could tell that Naruto was focused on him. As Moka paused to catch her breath Mizore took the forefront, using various ice attacks that she had developed during the spars with Naruto, and tried various means to trap Obito while she moved closer, but found that he was always one step ahead of her and able to stay out of her reach. This is really irritating me. Moka muttered as she got ready to charge him again. I know. That intangibility is making it really hard to get a hit in. Mizore agreed, and he is starting to keep track of us both now, so sneak attacks aren't going to work much longer. Well, we can't stop. Moka stated as they charged in again and tried to defeat the phasing Uchiha before he could try to hurt Naruto. Said blonde was panting as he stood across from the Susanoo-covered Madara. Halfway through the taijutsu match Madara had started using his Mangekyo Sharingan, and while unable to hit him with Amaterasu, he was able to use Susanoo to defend himself against Naruto's abilities. You could always ask for help. Jubi's voice echoed through the dream as Naruto felt Jubi's power filling him. Why are you helping me? Naruto asked confused. Because I enjoy watching you fight this nightmare for starters. But in the long term, you die and odds are that Mikagami has some sort of fail-safe waiting for me as I return to the world, so I'd rather wait it out until I can get out on my own. Jubi stated. Fine with me. Naruto nodded as he felt the chakra cloak overtake him, and he sensed that he had 6 tails behind him. Now let's try this again. With a roar Naruto charged towards Madara, avoiding the swords that his Susanoo was swinging at him as he got close enough to strike, sending forth his tails as he struck, Rasengan forming and then turning into a Bijidama as he struck the Susanoo's chest and watched in fascination as the explosion hit. Sending the massive being flying backwards as he saw it dissipate and Madara hit the ground and bounce further away. Chuckling, Naruto flickered from sight and appeared behind Madara, who was already standing and had his Rinnegan activated as he tried to grab Naruto to drain the chakra right out of him. Grinning, Naruto flickered from sight again and struck from the side, enjoying the sound of ribs cracking as he continued his high-speed assault on his foe until Madara muttered a curse as he unleashed his attack. Shinra Tensei. Madara stated as Naruto's eyes widened as the force hit him and sent him flying right into Moka and Mizore, who hadn't seen the blonde coming. Ugh, hate that move. Naruto grunted as he felt something soft under his hand. Frowning, he squeezed it experimentally and heard Mizore moan. Naruto-kun, now is not the time. Mizore moaned as Naruto blushed crimson as he realized that he had just groped Mizore's freest. Pervert. Moka sighed as she stood up and pulled Naruto up as well. I thought you were handling the long-haired one. I was. Until he unleashed his Rinnegan and sent me flying. Naruto grumbled as he cracked his neck, tails still waving behind him. Couldn't you dodge it? Mizore asked. Not that one. All you can do is be out of the blast radius and attack him during the recharge time. Naruto replied calmly as he stared at Obito. And how's your fight going? Lousy. Mizore stated. He keeps avoiding our hits. And we have barely managed to hit him. Yeah, he can be a pain to fight. But he is human. Distract him enough and you'll be able to hit him. Naruto shrugged as he looked at Madara, who had his hand aimed at him. Shit. Banshu Tenin. Madara stated as he pulled Naruto towards him. Naruto just went with the flow, creating 2 Rasengans in front of him as he did, and smirked as he saw Madara's eyes widen as he struck, hitting Madara like a freight train and sent him skidding backwards as Naruto's tails went over his hands. Creating his Rasen shurikens that he sent flying towards Madara, who extended his hands towards the 2 lethal attacks and used his pre-top path and absorbed the ninjutsu while Naruto flickered behind him and punched him. Using all of his strength behind the attack and knocked Madara forward where one of his tails wrapped around his throat and smashed him into the ground before letting go and letting Naruto create a new Rasengan. Focusing fire, shadow, ice and blood into the Rasengan, he felt the unstable power building and smirked as he saw Madara stand shakily. Aim over Madara. Naruto stated as his tails latched onto his arms and legs, holding him steady as Naruto charged him. Useless. Madara stated as he started to absorb the tails holding him and realized that as he stopped that Naruto had gotten close enough to ram the Jubi Rasengan into him. No. Yes. This is my mind and you are not welcome. Naruto roared as his attack hit with all the blonde's power and soon Madara dissipated as Naruto turned to see that the girls were managing against Obito, forcing his attention on Mizore, who was using ice clones to help distract him while Moka took his back and finally managed to strike. Know your place. Moka shouted as her attack hit, snapping his spine loud enough for Naruto to hear from where he was standing, and he only smirked as Obito fell to the ground with a cry of pain as he tried to move but found that he couldn't. As he lay there he started to disappear as Madara had, and the girls turned to see that Naruto was finished as well. Naruto-kun. Mizore smiled as he walked over and hugged them both, with Moka looking slightly annoyed as she finally returned the hug. Well, that should do it. Naruto stated as he looked at the 2 of them. Before we wake up, are you sure about this? Of course we are. Moka snapped as her outer self appeared. We discussed this at length. I understand that, but Naruto trailed off. Naruto-kun, we know you're worried about hurting us, but we will talk at length about what we will do and how this is going to work. It won't be easy, but this is the best solution for all of us, and it isn't unheard of for this kind of thing to happen. I mean, my father is a polygamist. Outer Moka explained with a grin. Before anything else could be said, the world faded into darkness and Naruto awoke laying on an infirmary bed with Kurumu, Yukari and Ruby all standing over him, looking worried. He's awake. Kurumu shouted as she grabbed him in a hug that had his face trapped in her ample bust. Hey, Kurumu-chan can't breathe, Naruto gasped as the succubus finally released him, where Yukari was soon holding him too. We were so worried about you. Yukari cried as she held onto him in a death grip. It's fine, I'm okay. Naruto chuckled as he sat up and looked over at the 2 chairs and saw Moka and Mizore waking up. The 2 looked at him and smiled, which Naruto smiled back until he saw the new person in the room. Hi. Welcome back, Uzumaki-san. I'm Risa Takeda, the school psychologist. I was hoping you could explain to me what happened. Takeda stated as she stared at the blonde with such intensity that Naruto actually felt a little nervous. I'm not entirely sure. I was meeting with the headmaster when I suddenly has this headache. Then on my way out I blacked out and I was suddenly in one of my memories, but it wasn't really a memory. More like a place from my past that this nightmare created, as it was also using something from my past that was one of the most dangerous things that I had ever fought, something that I hadn't been able to beat on my own. I'll need to think on this, but odds are this is a psychological attack on you, perhaps by antithesis. I'll alert the doctor to keep an eye out for any students being brought in with unusual injuries, and I will see if there are any yokai here that could do to you what just happened. Akita nodded as she refocused on Naruto. However, Uzumaki-san, I would like you to come by my office tomorrow afternoon and we can discuss this nightmare and why you wouldn't release it when I tried to help you. How could you have helped me? Naruto asked with a frown. I am a Baku. I eat nightmares. She stated calmly as she walked out of the room. Remember, tomorrow after class. Once Takeda had left the room, the girls that hadn't been in his mind all focused on Naruto and began pelting him with questions that he simply brushed off, saying that he would tell them another time as he climbed out of the bed and shared another smile with the two girls that had found themselves a place in his heart. It was another quiet day in the newspaper club, or as quiet as it could get with that group. The only one missing was Naruto, who had said that he was going to get drinks for all of them. As they waited, Yukari was working on a new spell that she wouldn't say what it did. Just tell us already. Kurumu snapped. No. Yukari replied, this spell is supposed to do something awesome though. Yukari then began chanting in some ancient language and fired the spell, right as Naruto appeared via his shadow in the direct path of the spell. It struck Naruto with enough force to send him flying against a wall, where his eyes closed for a brief moment while the four girls rushed towards him in worry. Look what you did, Yukari. Kurumu shouted. I'm sorry. Yukari exclaimed. Naruto-kun? Mizore asked as she tapped his face, trying to wake him. It was only a moment before the blonde opened his eyes and looked at the girls. Are you okay? Moka asked. Of course I'm mother f okay. He shouted, startling the girls, and I brought you all the ultimate bada drinks of bada uri. What did you do? Mizore asked as she looked at Yukari, whose jaw was hanging open. I don't know, Yukari muttered, the spell didn't really say what it would do. So how do we fix it? Moka asked as they saw Naruto setting the drinks down. Drink up ladies, before these bada drinks of badasuri get warm. Naruto shouted. We have got to fix this. Kurumu deadpanned as she stared at the blonde who was now shouting at Jin. I know, but I need time to research this and probably talk to Ruby about how to fix this. Yukari explained as the girls all looked at her. Work quickly. Mizore stated. Why does this newspaper have no explosions? Naruto shouted. Over the next week the school was terrorized by the new Naruto, who had no volume control, or filter for that matter, as he couldn't say one sentence without a swear word. I told you, Jin, nothing is more badass than treating a woman with respect. Naruto shouted at Jin as he tried to hit on another woman. That has to be the lamest pickup line I've heard out of you all day, you lame ass motherf. Damn it, Naruto. Jin shouted as the girl walked off. You are throwing off my game. You have no game. Naruto roared. He soon walked away and made his way towards his four friends, where they were discussing their homework, and Naruto soon sat with them, though he continued his shouting. Naruto, please be quiet unless you have a question. Moka stated as she tried to work on her homework. Well, I have one question and one question only. Explosions, and with that last word Naruto made a hand sign and something in the distance exploded. The four girls all stared at the blonde with utter shock that he did that, and somewhere in the afterlife, a blonde-haired bomber was laughing with joy. This has to end. Mizore stated, I don't think that I can put up with this much longer. Agreed. Kurumu sighed as they looked at Yukari. Ruby said that she should have something soon. Yukari said as they looked over and saw that Naruto was gone, shouting something about going to Bada's crater of Badassitude. That evening Ruby had finished fixing the spell that would restore Naruto to his rightful self, and the five of them were on their way to the crater where Naruto was still at, triggering more explosions. You're sure this will work? Kurumu asked. Positive. Ruby smiled as she aimed her wand at Naruto. This has got to be the most baddest. Naruto began but didn't finish as he was blasted with the second spell and passed out again. Naruto-kun? Mizore asked after climbing down into the crater. Ugh, what happened to me? Naruto asked as he sat up. And why am I in a crater? Let's just say Yukari has a lot of making up to do. Kurumu grinned evilly as Yukari paled and started to run away. Now then, Uzumaki-san, let's begin, shall we? Takeda remarked as Naruto sat on the armchair that she had in her office. Okay. Start where exactly, and has the headmaster agreed to me telling you anything? Naruto asked with a frown. Mikagami-sensei has agreed to these sessions. He is rather concerned about you and your mental state, since we do not know how much damage there might have been from the attack on you yesterday. Takeda replied, if you don't believe me then you may ask him and we will simply discuss matters that you are comfortable with. No, I'll trust you on this one. Naruto sighed. So what do you want to know? Let's start with the nightmare. She suggested. Why were you clinging to it instead of fighting it? Because of what the nightmare was partially. Naruto sighed. How much has Mikagami told you about me? Only that you are an exceptionally powerful yokai and that your species only exists in a different dimension where most yokai are not permitted to enter. She stated. Okay. In my world, a little more than a year ago, the great shinobi nations banded together to stop a madman from attempting to resurrect a powerful demon and trap the entire world in an illusion for the rest of time. Naruto began. I was one of the targets that this madman wanted, and it was during this war that myself, the other target, my sensei and his self-proclaimed rival, were pitted up against two men that were insanely powerful. And that was what this nightmare was, these two men? She asked. Except this time I was alone. Naruto nodded. Are they yokai? No. They were both incredibly powerful humans. I see. Normally this would mean you were rejecting the nightmare or running from it. But you clung to it. There is another reason, a more personal one that I am not really comfortable talking about. For now it's worked itself out, but I am really not ready to talk about that. That's fine. Takeda nodded as she jotted something down on the clipboard she had with her. So you are a war veteran? Yeah. Naruto nodded. I imagine that such a thing was stressful on such a young man. She remarked. Very. Naruto nodded. Did you receive psychological help after the war concluded? No, I had other matters to deal with. Such as? Going from a mid-S rank yokai to a yokai that's off the charts. Naruto sighed. No time to really wallow in self-pity over what happened when your very powers are pouring off of you so much that it's starting to affect your surroundings. You have suppressed it then. I wouldn't say that. But you haven't really discussed this war with anyone? Not really. I mean, I told the girls about it, but they never asked for the gritty details for what really happened while I was there, and I am thankful that they haven't. And why's that? I don't want to relive it. I see. Takeda nodded, taking more notes. I believe that you may need to talk about these things soon, Uzumaki-san. Why? I've been fine up until now. You are repressing these feelings and emotions. You have been so focused on the future that you haven't had time to properly grieve for those that you lost and make peace with the deeds that had been performed. Takeda explained. Is that bad? It can lead to some very difficult mental problems later. She stated. Sighing, Naruto closed his eyes and tried to get his thoughts straight. Takeda-sensei, that war is not something I like to talk about. I lost a good friend that day to the very demon that was sealed inside of me a few hours later. I saw hundreds of people dying just to try and defend me. I don't think that I am ready to talk about how bad it really was just yet. I understand and I apologize if I forced the issue. Let's change the subject. What was your childhood like? For the next hour they talked, and Takeda continued to jot down notes and seemed to listen to his responses before nodding and telling him that he should be back again next week and they would talk again. Shaking his head, Naruto made his way towards Mikagami's office, where he planned on discussing his next moves against Antithesis with the older yokai. As he entered the office, he noted that Mikagami was finishing looking over a few different folders and seemed to really be planning something. What's on your mind, Mikagami? Naruto asked as he entered the room and shut the door behind him. Looking over something that is bothering me. Mikagami stated calmly as he motioned for Naruto to take a look. Antithesis has managed to get at least one mole into the school festival committee. Good place to plan ways to disrupt the entire school. Naruto agreed, but who would it be and what are they hoping to gain by doing this? I have a thought and I'm almost certain that it is right. Mikagami stated as he explained his idea to Naruto, who frowned in turn before shrugging. I've never been much of one for tactics. Naruto chuckled, but I can tell that you are, and if this is what your gut is telling you, then I'll back it. Thank you, Naruto. The best possible move would be to place you on the committee as well. Mikagami mused. Any suspects? All of them at this point. I leave it up to you to work it out. Mikagami grinned. And if your plan is right, what then? I hope that you are prepared to stop this threat. We cannot afford to let that happen. Mikagami stated bluntly. Got it. Naruto promised as he made his way towards the door. Make the arrangements for me please, I've got some things to take care of. I'm sure you do. Mikagami chuckled meaningfully as Naruto blushed before leaving. It didn't take Naruto long to meet up with Moka, who had won the coin toss to see who got to spend private time with Naruto first. For the moment the pair walked around the school, just talking and enjoying the peace, until Naruto had them stop by a few trees where they soon were sitting under them and enjoying the company. Naruto-kun? Moka asked. Yeah? What's it like using your blood like you have been? Thing of weird, to be honest. Naruto admitted. It's like an extension of myself and my own thoughts manipulated, even while it's inside of me. Though I have to be careful, since while I am using it from a fresh wound my body doesn't make more. That could be dangerous against a vampire. Moka said, her eyes widening. If I am up against a vampire I am freezing them in a glacier, not going toe-to-toe against them. No offense to your inner self, but you're still young and getting stronger. Against an adult vampire who has been well trained, I'm likely in for an ass kicking. Naruto chuckled as Moka just shook her head as her inner self huffed at this statement. Naruto decided to stop this line of thought by quickly stealing a kiss from the distracted vampire, who made a small noise of surprise at this sudden action and blushed when he stopped. That was sneaky, Naruto-kun. She muttered. I am a shinobi. Naruto grinned as he leaned back against the tree. The next day began normally for everyone, and once they were in class, Nakanum informed them that their class needed to elect a representative for the school festival committee. "I recommend Naruto," Kurumu exclaimed. "Seconded." Mizore agreed. Naruto blinked at this and then just decided to shrug it off since it was part of the plan to get him elected, though he did look over at the girls who just smiled at him before he turned away. "Okay, Naruto-san is one of them," Nakanum said as she wrote his name on the board. "Anyone else?" A few more names were given, and after there were 3 on the board the class started voting, and somehow Naruto wound up ahead, though the blonde suspected that Mikagami had bribed the students in his class to vote for him. "Very well then. Naruto-san, you will be excused from the newspaper club for the time being, so you can help with the school festival committee." Now Naruto heard a groan come from Kurumu, Mizore and Moka, who realized that their favorite blonde would now be away for longer lengths of time than before. Naruto simply chuckled as he quickly memorized where the meetings were to be held and refocused on class. That afternoon after class was finished, Naruto made his way to the small building on the edge of the grounds, where he found several older students already sitting at the round table and the chairperson standing up to greet him. He was taller than Naruto by close to 6 inches, with brown hair and brown eyes behind his glasses. He wore a black version of the school uniform, very similar to what Naruto was wearing, and from the way he moved, Naruto knew that this was someone that knew how to defend himself in a fight. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Naruto Uzumaki." He smiled as he offered his hand to be shaken. "I've read a few of your articles and think that you will make a great addition to the committee." "It's a pleasure." Naruto replied back in kind as he shook the teen's hand. "I didn't catch your name." "Oh, I'm sorry about that." He laughed. "I'm Hakuto Kaneshiro." "It's a pleasure, Hakuto-san." Naruto nodded as he took his seat and the older teen took his as well. "Alright then, let's begin," Hakuto said, calling the meeting to order. It was quickly outlined that they had a little more than a month to get everything planned and set up. This meant delegating duties and making sure that all deadlines were met. The locations of the various booths and other arrangements were the first thing brought up, and it was a few of the older students who would be handling that, seeing as how they knew more about the various clubs and who to keep away from who. The next matter brought up Security, and that was where Naruto entered the discussion. Antithesis is likely to try and stir up some trouble, Naruto noted as they discussed how to handle any fights that would very likely break out. "The new SPC isn't ready yet for this kind of thing, so I would reach out to a few of the other clubs, get some of their members to help out and keep things civil during the festival." He is right, the SPC isn't even half of what it originally was, back when they actually did their jobs. Hakuto agreed, "Though you have given me a chance to bring this up and it will save time later. Antithesis is going to do everything that they can to disrupt this festival and ruin this school. I for one will not stand for it, and I trust that all of you feel the same. We need to work together, not just us but the entire school, if we want this festival to be a success. Now I would like you, Naruto-san, to go and talk to these clubs about the extra security." "Okay." Naruto nodded as he jotted down the clubs that he would have to talk to, and once done, he focused on the individual members of the meeting and quickly memorized each one to have a Kage bunch and follow them and see if they were on the up and up. Once the meeting was finished, Naruto was one of the last ones out when Hakuto stopped him. "Naruto, I didn't want to say this in front of the other members, but I think you should hear this if you are handling security." "What is it?" Naruto asked with a frown. "I believe Antithesis has a spy in our midst. Be careful out there," Hakuto warned, and Naruto only nodded as he walked off, filing Hakuto under the category of unlikely but still not to be fully trusted. He quickly made his way to the karate and kendo clubs, informing their club presidents that if they could help with security at the festival, it would be appreciated. They sounded hesitant due to Antithesis, but agreed to have their members help out in shifts. Once this was done, Naruto was making his way towards the graveyard where the girls had agreed to meet him when he saw a figure approaching him. He was a little taller than him with silver hair that reached his ears and was wearing the school uniform. As he got closer, Naruto saw that his eyes were 2 different colors, one red slitted one and one green slitted one. The two stopped walking and stared at each other for a moment before the unidentified boy spoke. "You're Naruto Uzumaki?" "I am. Who are you?" "I'm Kiriyashi." Kiriya stated calmly, "You've made quite the name for yourself, you know that." "I'd heard, wasn't my intent though." "That's just it though. I was originally interested in getting a fight out of your girlfriend the vampire, but now I am much more interested in fighting you." Kiriya grinned. "So what do you say, up for it?" "Why should I fight you?" Naruto asked with a frown. That statement earned a malevolent grin out of the teen who spoke again. "Because if you don't, all I have to do is place a phone call and all of Antithesis will attack your friends." Kiriya replied, and Naruto's eyes narrowed. "I've had a few of my members following your friends for days now, and we know exactly where your friends are currently at in the graveyard." Naruto didn't waste a single word as his shadow lifted off the ground and slammed into Kiryu, sending him flying as Naruto quickly followed intent on stopping this new enemy. Kiryu only laughed as his arm turned into a scythe and swung it at the blonde, who only let his shadow rise up to block it and blinked in shock as the scythe went right through it. Crawling low, Naruto slid under the weapon and used his ice to make a tanto as he swung it at Kiryu, who only leapt over the weapon and swung his scythe arm at him again. The pair continued this duel for several moments, both avoiding the other one's weapon as they tried to inflict some kind of damage. Naruto glared at the teen for a moment and decided to end this quickly. As the pair clashed again, this time he let the scythe hit his ice tanto and noted again that his weapon was being cut through, but not before his shadow wrapped around Kiryu and immobilized him by changing into a set of chains. Kiryu blinked at this as Naruto took a step back from the scythe and glared at Kiryu. "Now I have some questions for you, and you are going to answer them before I decide that I like you more without your lower jaw," Naruto stated in a cold fury as he took out a kunai and twirled it on his finger. "Is that right? Well, have at it then," Kiryu replied. "Why is Antithesis so intent on attacking me? You're a threat. In less than a week you completely destroyed the school protection committee, and add on to the fact that you are all buddy-buddy with the headmaster, and we can't let you live," Kiryu replied calmly, keeping Naruto's attention on him. "Then what are you planning then?" Naruto sighed. "That would be telling." Kiryu logged as his scythe cut through the shadows and he took off at a run, laughing the whole time. Naruto had the urge to chase him, but something told him that this would be a bad idea and decided that it would be wiser to inform Mikagami about what had just happened. The next day, Naruto sat in the meeting with the other committee members and informed them that 2 of the clubs would help out with security and that he was going to speak with the others later today. They discussed a few payment options for various clubs and patrols, and after a few hours they left, with one of the members coming with Naruto, saying he wanted to talk to him for a bit. "So what did you want to talk about, Mizuki-san?" Naruto asked as they walked, his senses on high alert. "Wanted to hear your opinion on Antithesis and what you plan on doing to help stop them," Mizuki replied with a shrug as they crossed a large empty field, heading towards the rear of the school. Most of the clubs are scared of Antithesis, and not without good reason, but with most of the activity clubs working together, and if everyone stands firm, then they won't be able to cause nearly as much damage. A pack mentality will serve us much better than individual actions. Anything else? Other than vigilance? Yeah, I've got a few surprises planned that I haven't told the committee yet, saving those for emergency use only," Naruto stated. "Sounds like we'll have it rough." Mizuki chuckled and then quickly fell silent when he realized his mistake. "You really are an idiot." Naruto sighed as he turned and faced the second-year student. "Now are you going to surrender nicely, or do I have to get rough with you?" You won't last 5 seconds against me." Mizuki laughed as he shifted into a more snake-like form and started burrowing under the ground. "Down here you can't touch me." "Idiot." Naruto sighed as he placed his hand next to the hole and focused his shadows into it and waited 5 seconds for the exclamation of surprise as Mizuki was dragged back to the surface, bound in shadows and held in the air. "It's like you wanted me to catch you." "Naruto-san." Hakuto shouted as he ran over. "We just got word that Mizuki here was the mole." "Yeah, the idiot gave himself away during our conversation." Naruto nodded. "I'll go take him to the headmaster and let him deal with this moron." "That's good. I'm happy we caught him so quickly." Hakuto smiled as he patted Naruto's shoulder. "I'm glad you're alright. When we realized that he was an imposter and had taken the place of the actual student that was supposed to be on the committee, we split up to warn you about him." "Appreciate that." Naruto nodded as he started walking, the shadows pulling Mizuki along behind him. "I'll see you tomorrow, Hakuto." "Of course, Naruto, be careful out there," Hakuto replied as he turned and left. After Naruto dropped off Mizuki into a heavily sealed room that Mikagami had prepared for the Antithesis members, he motioned for Naruto to come with him. "You caught him rather quickly," Mikagami noted. "Too quickly?" Naruto sighed. "Something about this doesn't sit right with me. This is their best chance to really cause some havoc in the school, where most authority figures won't be able to counteract them quickly, and yet they send in this guy. Doesn't add up." "We're agreed then." Mikagami nodded. "I think he was a decoy to lure you off the scent. Or they knew that he was going to be compromised and decided to get rid of a weaker member of the group and strike with their full strength later." "Speaking of, got anything useful about that Kiriyashi?" "His student records, yes. And a few rumors that he is the leader of Antithesis," Mikagami replied. "Wouldn't surprise me if he was." Naruto nodded. "He's definitely got the skill set to back it up, but the leader we've been up against has been a tactical genius. He may have underestimated me every time, but that's because I keep my abilities hidden and don't flaunt my powers as much as other students do. But so far his every move has been one that would have taken me out if his assessment of my abilities had been spot on. I don't get that vibe off of Kiryu." "I understand. I will keep an eye on him while you keep your eyes peeled for the real mole in the committee." Mikagami nodded as he walked off and Naruto turned on his heel and left, planning on spending his last few hours of daylight with his friends. The days passed quietly for Naruto, who continued to observe the various committee members, but none of them seemed to give away any connections to antithesis, and it was starting to annoy Naruto to no end. After a week of this, Naruto was on his way into the committee room when he froze and saw the dead bodies laying all around. Shit. Naruto cursed as he ran in and checked over them until he found Hakuto under a pile of rubble, still alive. "Ugh, Naruto," he groaned as he sat up. "What happened?" Naruto asked with a frown. "Ambush." Hakuto replied with a groan as he tried to stand and sank back to his knees. "Antithesis was waiting for us when we came in today. I was lucky, got sent flying into this pile of rubble and lost consciousness. Must have thought I was dead already." "How many?" "What was left of them?" "They were led by this silver-haired guy with a red and a green eye. Said that once they were done here they would be heading for you and your friends." Hakuto explained as Naruto helped him up. "Kirya." Naruto cursed. "Go tell Mikagami what's going on. If Ruby tries to stop you, tell her that I sent you and it's an emergency." "Where are you going?" Hakuto asked. "After Kirya. He needs to be stopped," Naruto stated as he made sure that Hakuto could stand without falling. "Take your time getting there. You likely have some internal injuries that will need to be checked out. Inform Mikagami and then get to the infirmary." Hakuto only nodded as Naruto took off at a run, creating a clone once he was outside of the building to sit on the roof and gather Senjutsu chakra. This time he wasn't going to pull any punches against Kirya. It took him all of 10 minutes to locate the silver-haired youth, who looked up when he saw him coming from above and blinked in shock when he saw the fireball heading right for him. Leaping to the side, he avoided the worst of the blast but could still feel the heat from the fire as Naruto landed and charged him, sending more fire after him. "I learned from our last fight, Kirya," Naruto explained as Kirya dodged another blast. "Your scythe arm is pretty deadly as it lets you cut through anything, as though it doesn't have Yaki supporting it. So that removed a good chunk of my arsenal, but against fire you are still dealing with the heat and flames. Even if they are Yaki encased, fire is still fire." But that he made a more controlled lance of flames that shot forth and singed Kirya's left arm, turning the flesh a nasty red color from the blast. "Well, no one ever said that you were stupid." Kirya hissed in pain as he held the burn, "but in this case you are." "What are you talking about?" Naruto growled out as he continued the barrage of small controlled lances of fire. "I'm just a decoy. The boss is already getting the Holy Judgment Rosario off of Mikagami by now. It's only a matter of time before the barrier drops and this school is destroyed once and for all." Kirya laughed as Naruto's eyes widened as he realized he had been duped. "That's right. Hakuto is the true leader of Antithesis. He is the one that will destroy Yokai Academy." Naruto muttered a curse as he flickered from sight and appeared behind Kirya and hit him hard enough to knock him out before heading off towards the school, praying that he got there in time. As Naruto came crashing through the main entrance, he saw Hakuto was already there, holding a Rosario with Mikagami trapped inside one of his own barriers. "Naruto!" Hakuto exclaimed in shock. Kirya let the cat out of the bag a little too early. Naruto replied as he removed his blazer and rolled up his sleeves. "I got to admit you had me fooled." "That was the point." Hakuto replied as he took off his own blazer, revealing the black muscle shirt underneath, silver pendant, and toned muscles. "You know I can't let you do this," Naruto warned. "You should. If you knew the truth then you would help me." "And what truth might that be?" "I know that you were once human as well." Hakuto began. "I was a human once as well." With those words, Hakuto started to fight, moving forward with speed greater than most yokai that Naruto had encountered, but not faster than some of the shinobi that he had seen. Hakuto started with a series of punches that Naruto batted aside with ease and kept his eyes locked on Hakuto's. "Is that right? What changed?" Naruto asked as he countered with a backhanded strike that pushed Hakuto back a step. "I was alone in this school." Hakuto replied with a cold look. "Unlike you, I had no one here to help protect me and help me get strong on my own terms. I suppose that it was the irony of my situation. To flee from my abusive father and wind up being prey to the various yokai here until I became one of the hybrid yokai here." Hakuto struck with a series of kicks and punches that now had Naruto on the defensive again, forcing the blonde to focus and allow the Senjutsu to allow him to avoid the strikes and know where the opening would be so he could reverse the situation. "And that's why you started Antithesis?" Naruto asked as he finally found the opening, kicking Hakuto in the chest and following through with a series of punches that forced the older teen back to get back at the students that attacked you. "Not entirely. I was doing this to destroy this school and the human world that allowed this to happen." He countered as he got his bearings and decided to really start taking Naruto seriously as he unleashed his yokai abilities. Naruto could feel the Yaki pouring off of him and realized that like many of the various hybrids that he had clashed with, he had a very interesting mix of powers. Hakuto however seemed to have gotten the lion's share and was now, if Naruto was estimating this correctly, stronger than all the girls combined and was likely even stronger than Naruto was currently at. Naruto now frowned as he touched the seals that were showing on his wrists and with a twisting motion of the fingers deactivated them. I see. So this is all about revenge. Naruto stated as he glared at Hakuto. Grow up. What? Hakuto asked with shock. You're upset about the hand you've been dealt and now you are trying to drag everyone else down with you. Naruto stated as he walked closer. If you don't like the way things are then fight to make them better, not to make everything worse for everyone else. But that Naruto took off in a flicker of motion and appeared in front of Hakuto with a fist buried in his gut, lifting him off the ground with the sheer force of the strike. However Hakuto knew how fast Naruto could be and as he was lifted off the ground he struck with his own left hand and slugged the blonde in the face, revealing how much stronger he had become and sent Naruto skidding back who blinked at this strike before grinning. Flickering from sight again Naruto and Hakuto began their duel in earnest as Naruto proved that he was far faster than Hakuto, but he was far stronger than him and was capable of dealing out massive punishment every time that Naruto managed to get a few hits in. Mikagami only watched in shock as the duel continued and realized that both of them were not going all out yet and that this fight was more of a contest of wills. Naruto and Hakuto disengaged after several minutes of slugging the crap out of one another, with Naruto spitting out a glob of blood with a grin. I don't know about you Hakuto, but this is one of the best fights that I've had in ages. Naruto grinned. Hakuto stared at Naruto in shock before he felt a smile tugging at his lips as well. I must admit that you are a worthy adversary. But I will not give up my plans. Hakuto, your plans were doomed from the moment you made me your enemy. I got a pretty interesting title back home, Konoha's #1 unpredictable knuckleheaded shinobi. Naruto grinned as Naruto held up his hands and revealed that he had taken the rosary during their fight. Hakuto's eyes widened in shock as he saw this and tried to think of when Naruto might have grabbed it and realized that he had been too focused on the fight. How? Shadow manipulation. Naruto replied during our slugfest I had my shadow grab the rosary from you and keep it out of your reach while we fought. Clever. I underestimated you again. Hakuto admitted that is 3 times now that I have personally done that. I'm a hard guy to get a red on. Naruto admitted. Indeed. But you have underestimated me as well. Hakuto stated as he started to fully transform into his Yokai form. I will kill you now Naruto Uzumaki, my most worthy adversary. Bring it on, I won't lose now that I've gotten this far. Naruto exclaimed as he started drawing on Jubi's powers and felt that chakra cloak wrap around him and tails starting to form, stopping at 5. Naruto simply watched as what was once a human-looking figure transformed into something lean, large, and dangerous. His legs were gone, replaced with a long whip-like tail, almost like a naga, and his body was a web-like form with large gaps in between them. At the center torso Naruto could see Hakuto's face, and the eyes glared at him with the malice of the downtrodden. But the wordless roar the two clashed and Naruto quickly deduced that the person that had given him the means of transforming into a yokai and had allowed him to survive here at the academy was Kirya, as his bladed tentacles could nearly cut through the chakra cloak and almost cut Naruto in a few places. Skidding to a stop Naruto sent his tails out and grabbed onto Hakuto's back and pulled himself up, his hand forming a katen. Rasengan as he smashed it into the teen who roared in pain as took the hit but slapped Naruto away with his tail, sending him flying into a wall where he slowly stood up and saw the blur heading for him. That was Hakuto. Growling to himself Naruto dodged the rush and started making a Rasen shuriken and added into it his fire, knowing that when this hit it would do so with a massive explosion. Throwing the spinning mass of chakra Naruto watched as Hakuto used the wing-like webs to shield himself and take the brunt of the attack with a scream as his flesh was torn and incinerated. Give it up Hakuto. You can't beat me. Naruto said as he started to make 2 more. I don't want to hurt you, but you aren't giving me a lot of options. I won't give up. Hakuto roared as he attacked again, trying to weave and get the best of Naruto, who only let his instincts take over as he leapt into the air just as Hakuto was about to strike and sent the 2 fire-enhanced Rasen shurikens flying down at Hakuto, who did everything that he could to get away, but only his torso cleared the blast radius, where he screamed again and collapsed onto the ground, his body racked with so much pain that he transformed back, his body intact but severely burned and bleeding. Naruto landed on the ground and quickly began releasing Mikagami, who nodded his thanks as Naruto returned the rosary before going to kneel next to Hakuto. You are one tough son of a bitch, you know that. Naruto asked. You took not 1, not 2, but 3 ancient Rasen shurikens before you went down. You're a freaking tank. Hakuto only chuckled at this as he looked at him. You should talk. I didn't realize that I was this outclassed against you. I warned you. Naruto chuckled as he saw Ruby calling the infirmary to get a stretcher, looks like they will be getting you medical treatment. Won't help me much. Hakuto replied, I broke too many seals too quickly. He showed Naruto the holy lock on his left wrist, and the blonde nodded, I doubt I will live much longer. That's quite her talk. Naruto shouted as he smacked him in the head with the palm of his hand, you get better and then come find me for a rematch, no transforming next time. Hakuto blinked as he looked at Naruto with a confused expression. Why? Because you are a tough opponent and I could use more fights like that. No, why are you being so nice to me? Hakuto, I know what it's like to be hated, better than a lot of people. You are in a really dark place right now, and what you really need is a friend out there to help you out. I have a friend like that back home who is a lot like you, well maybe not as smart as you, but you are similar in some ways. I'd rather have you as a friend than an enemy any day. Naruto smiled, now rest up and be ready because I want that rematch. Hakuto only chuckled as he closed his eyes and decided to save his strength, but not before replying, we will see Naruto. Naruto only grinned as he decided that laying down and closing his eyes might not be such a bad idea and plopped down next to Hakuto, where he heard Ruby shouting for another stretcher into the phone. Naruto awoke laying in a bed and the smell of disinfectant in the air, and his mood quickly soured as he realized that he was in the infirmary. Opening his eyes he saw that there were 5 girls passed out near him, and after glancing around found the calendar and realized that it was the next day. Groaning as he sat up he saw Moka's eyes snap open. Naruto-kun. She exclaimed, causing the others to awaken as well and all try to hug him, which his shadow quickly stopped. None of that now. I am still way too sore. Naruto grumbled as he slowly moved towards the edge of the bed to stand up. Oh no you don't. Ruby exclaimed as she moved towards him and forced him to lay back down, you took too much of a beating when you fought Hakuto, you need to rest. Yeah, you've been asleep for almost a whole day. Yukari added. Damn. Naruto whistled as he leaned back against the pillow. So how is Hakuto doing? Why do you care about him? He tried to kill you. Kurumu shouted. Ruby? Naruto asked, deciding to ignore the question. He is stable for now, but it isn't looking good. Ruby replied, the good news is that antithesis has disbanded and most of the group is being dealt with now. Good. Naruto nodded with a smile as he saw Mizore take the side of the bed on his left and give his hand a squeeze. You had us worried, Naruto-kun. She said with a smile, I've never seen you hurt so much. Yeah. Was Hakuto that strong? Moka asked. Stronger than you guys think. Naruto chuckled, and I still want that damn rematch. Rematch, the 5 exclaimed in horror, earning a wince of pain from Naruto. Well yeah, I mean a guy that strong will push me to new heights no problem, and vice versa. Naruto explained, besides he wouldn't be the first person I befriended that tried to kill me. Kurumu and Ruby had the decency to blush at this comment before Naruto's stomach announced that it was in need of food, preferably ramen. This earned some laughs from the girls as Ruby left to get him a meal, while the other 4 pestered him about the fight and how he had gotten so beat up. That night Naruto lay awake and heard the sound of a note being slid under the door. With a frown the blonde stood up and picked up a slip of paper that only said I owe you one rematch, Hakuto. You bastard. Naruto chuckled as he put the note into his blazer before laying down, wondering where exactly Hakuto was going and if Kiryu would be going with him. To the left, I said. Naruto roared. The group of students all blinked at his angry tone and looked to see what he meant. Move the sign to the left. Oh, sorry. One called back. Don't be sorry, just do it. Naruto growled out as they fixed the sign, and Naruto just shook his head before walking off to inspect a few other areas that needed his attention. The school festival was tomorrow and they were rushing to finish all of the last-minute work that had been put off. It was all coming together though, and he knew that once this was finished that the school year would practically be finished. Sighing to himself, he stopped to look over a few of the club booths and make sure that everyone was where they were supposed to be and that no one was trying to change spots. You are too stressed, Naruto-kun. Mizore said as she walked up next to him. I'm the only person left on the committee and that means that all of that work falls to me. Naruto sighed, and it's almost over. Are you going to have to work during the festival? Not really. We'll need to check on a few minor things here and there, but for the most part I am free. Naruto chuckled, plenty of time to spend with you and the others. Good. Because family members will also be coming to this. Mizore began. Are you saying that I have to meet your parents? Naruto asked, slightly worried about how that would play out. I would like you to, she muttered. It's fine, just trying to think of everything that could go wrong. He sighed, because if I meet your parents then I have to spend time with everyone else's parents and God only knows who has told their families what. Mizore slightly blushed at this comment but decided not to say anything on the matter. Naruto only shook his head before walking through the booths and did everything that he could to have the festival ready for the next day. The next morning arrived with Naruto up earlier than usual, as he had Kage Bunshin scattered throughout the school now, ready to respond to any emergencies, while he made sure that he had plenty of his shinobi tools to handle anyone that tried to do anything stupid during the festival. Walking out of his room, Naruto was soon heading towards the meeting place where he had agreed to meet the girls, knowing that they would want to spend time with him before introducing him to their parents. As he walked through the trickle of students, he suddenly felt a chill go down his spine, as though something was about to happen and that there would be nothing he could do to alter it. Thus being paranoid, Naruto muttered to himself as he stopped by the tree and waited. It took an hour for all of the girls to arrive, with Kurumu being last due to having overslept. Leave it to the succubus to not want to leave her bed. Yukari joked, earning an indignant shout from Kurumu. Come on girls, it's a festival. Play nice and let's have some fun. Naruto chuckled as they started to walk into the crowd of students. They stopped at a few spots here and there, playing a few games and making sure that a good time was had by all. Don't you feel bad to leave Jin to watch our booth? Moka asked as they approached the aisle the booth was in. Not at all. Kurumu declared. Seconded. Yukari chimed in. Not really. Mizore added. No. Besides, I left a Kage Bunshin with him just in case. Naruto replied as they turned and continued to explore the booths. Care to take a gander into the future? A voice called out from a small side booth. Naruto frowned as he turned and looked at the booth and didn't remember having authorized that one. Might have missed it though. Future? Yukari asked with a frown. Indeed. The hooded woman nodded as she pulled up a mirror. This mirror possesses great magical powers and will reveal to any that looks into it the future. Who you will marry, what you will do, all the mysteries revealed to you. All you need do is peer into the mirror. The girls all traded looks before Kurumu decided to try it and peered into the mirror. There was a flash of light and suddenly she was in her transformed state, her eyes having a strange look in them as she smiled at Naruto. Naruto-koi, I want you. She said as she was about to throw herself at him. What just happened? Yukari asked as the woman moved the mirror into her line of view, and while she didn't transform she too fell under the mirror's spell. If you don't want that cow Naruto-kun, you can just have me and Moka-chan. Oh crap. Naruto muttered to himself as he focused his shadow to grab the two girls before they could molest him, and he quickly realized his mistake and saw that she had used the mirror on Mizore and Moka in quick order. Focusing his shadow again, he had the other two girls trapped and made his way towards the woman. I don't know who you are, but I am now really pissed. Forgotten me already? She asked as she threw aside her cloak and revealed herself as Ishigami, the former art teacher, but it won't matter as my masterpiece is about to be complete. What masterpiece? Naruto asked with a frown. It's simple. By using this, the Lilith mirror, I will forcefully reveal the entire school's true forms and then chaos will ensue, bringing forth true art. Naruto blinked and could swear that this woman was only a few steps away from being a Deidara level of insane. Deciding to end this fight before it even began, he flickered from sight and tried to knock the mirror from her hands, but Ishigami had reacted as soon as she saw him leave and let the mirror go from her hands as the snake she had for hair grabbed it and flashed it in front of Naruto's face. There was a moment of silence as suddenly the world seemed to stand still and hold its breath in fear. Naruto blinked as he saw the mirror move, but he still saw his reflection, or something very close to it, as this was more akin to the evil him that he had faced on Turtle Island. Ah, free at last. The other Naruto said in a voice that Naruto knew too well. Jubi? Naruto said in shock. Indeed. I had heard of the Lilith mirror before, but was never certain what would happen when used on a Jinchuruki, but this clears up that mystery. Jubi chuckled as he rolled his shoulders, though I will admit that this isn't the worst form that I could be in, at least now I can blend in with humans before I transform and destroy them. Not going to happen. Naruto shouted as he tried to punch him, but Jubi only laughed as he blocked the strike with ease and countered with a blinding left hook that sent Naruto flying into the booth where Ishigami had been. Nice try, mortal. Jubi chuckled as his gaze observed the area, and it appears that Ishigami is now going to be using this mirror to unleash all the yokai. Should prove to be an interesting night. Interesting. People are going to die. People die every day. Countless thousands of them die through a multitude of reasons and causes. Death is inevitable, so it might as well provide some entertainment for those of us who are immortal. Jubi countered. Naruto only growled as he sent a blast of fire at Jubi, who only flickered out of the way, and Naruto quickly followed up with a blast of icicles at where Jubi would be, but only found empty ground as Jubi had kept moving. Naruto's gaze moved around trying to locate his double when he heard a moan behind him and turned to see that Jubi currently had his hands on Kurumu's chest and the girl was enjoying the treatment. Get away from them. Naruto roared as he charged him, though Jubi turned and blocked the roundhouse punch and with ease kicked the young shinobi away from him as he now walked towards him, earning a whimper from Kurumu as he stopped touching her. I know exactly what I am going to do. Jubi started, slowly moving closer. I am going to take everything away from you. Your precious people in this dimension, they will be mine. In this state most of them are little better than animals. Just look at your succubus friend. Just a little touch and she was putty in my hands. You're wrong. Naruto growled as he too moved closer. Am I? After you're dead she will do whatever I command, after all that is what the most powerful yokai do to the weaker ones. We command them, we rule them and they thank us for this. Jubi laughed. I wonder what will happen if I do this to you Yuki-onna or to the vampire. Keep away from them. Naruto roared as he struck, unleashing all his abilities at Jubi. Naruto began this onslaught by going back to the basics and had an army of Kage Bunshin charging at Jubi, who simply drew a few kunai and slashed through them with ease, creating a smokescreen around him that Jubi quickly went into and used it to destroy more clones until only the real Naruto was left. Naruto had not been idle however, as he was above Jubi with a Rasengan at the ready and trying to smash the sphere into the demon. Jubi saw the attack coming and a grin split his face as he moved to the side and struck, knocking the attack to the side where he quickly struck and smashed a foot into Naruto's open side and let him fall to the ground. Damn it. Naruto cursed as he stood up and created more Kage Bunshin to distract Jubi while he prepared to kill the demon. As the clones attacked Jubi, Naruto had two clones helping him make the Rasen Shuriken with one of them, allowing him to draw on Senjutsu chakra and throw the lethal ninjutsu. It had only taken Jubi a few seconds to clear enough clones to see the Rasen Shuriken heading for him, and he reacted with the speed of a natural shinobi and used Kawarimi to switch places with a clone and moved clear of the blast radius, letting Naruto destroy his own clones. But the Howl Naruto struck again, using his blood to attack Jubi who weaved around the shifting attacks and struck with precise and powerful strikes in the openings that appeared. This duel continued for close to 15 minutes before Naruto was panting from exhaustion while the Jubi was still fresh and ready to go. How low you have fallen. Jubi sighed as he kicked Naruto away after a failed combination. I have not been this disappointed in a long time. What are you talking about? Naruto spat, literally spitting some blood out of his mouth. You who should pose to greatest of challenges to me have not even managed to land a single blow on me. Was all your great strength just coming from me? Was that all you were capable of? I'll show you what I am capable of. Naruto shouted. You have. And I am underwhelmed. Jubi stated as he punched Naruto in the stomach, lifting him off the ground where he brought his other hand down onto the back of his head and smashed him into the ground. You aren't even worth the dirt under my feet. I'll stop you. Naruto hissed. Stop me? You can't even touch me. Jubi snapped. Get off your damn high horse. Stop acting like you are some great hero, some powerful being that can do anything. I never. You didn't have to. It's your newest mask. You keep hiding like some scared little boy, refusing to face the problems that have haunted you for years. Jubi shouted. You took 16 years to face the anger and resentment you had for the villagers that ignored your very existence and would likely not have spat on you if you were on fire. Is that what you planned on doing for all those problems that you had after the war? Wait until you had no other choice but to face it after you inflicted who knows how much harm unto yourself and others before you actually dealt with the pain and grief that you got from the war. You aren't a hero, you're pathetic. Niji would be ashamed of you. Don't say his name, Naruto growled, his anger hardening into something far more dangerous than mere blind rage. His vision was clear as was his intent. What was that? Jubi sneered. You have no right to say his name. Naruto said as he struck, using a spinning kick to knock Jubi off of his feet as Naruto stood up quickly and focused now on his opponent and ready to unleash true hell onto him. You murdered him. You aren't even half the man that Niji was. With that Naruto struck, punching the Jubi in the stomach before he could really recover, and he pressed his advantage. Jabs, uppercuts, roundhouse kicks and knee strikes. Naruto showed no mercy in this assault and kept hitting the demon for all he was worth. After more than 5 minutes of this continuous beatdown, Naruto stopped, panting in a mixture of rage and exhaustion. The Jubi crouched in front of him, his face bleeding from a few cuts here and there, and he stood up with a kind of determination that said that no being would keep him down. I murdered him. I was merely the weapon that was used. Jubi shouted in anger. I had no choice in the matter. Do you think that was my doing? That I wanted to rampage against you shinobi at the command of two madmen? You have blamed me since the day I was sealed inside of you for what occurred during the war. Grow up, I had no more say in what happened than you did. Naruto glared at the Jubi, but each word hit home like a guided missile, and Naruto couldn't deny the validity of the Jubi's claims. So you're a victim too? Then what about all that talk about destroying everything? I am what I am. Jubi countered. Destruction is all I know and all I am really good at. I admit that I am far more violent than the Biju were, but that is simply my nature and I do what I can to fight it. If you had bothered to learn about me then you might have understood better than anyone else. Why do you think the Rakuto Sennin created the Biju? Because he knew that even if I tried to stop myself I would fall back into the same patterns. He acted as a way of preventing that outcome from repeating itself until I reached the point where there was no one left that could stop me. But you're sentient. You can change. Change takes time. It doesn't happen instantaneously, it happens gradually. And I admit that I am not nearly as bad as I once was, I am still too dangerous to be free. Why do you think I haven't tried to take over your body? You said because you didn't want to have that contest of wills. I lied. I do that from time to time. Jubi shrugged, getting a frown out of Naruto, and before you even start on that line of thought, no, I am not lying right now. I have seen your life and saw what Kurama was to you. That he was your friend and I was envious of him. I acted the way I did because I knew you would never trust me offering the olive branch, so I had to keep acting the way I did and wait for you to do so. But here we are, more than a year later and we are barely making any progress. I may be immortal, but I have limited patience. Naruto slowly relaxed out of his fighting stance and stared at the Jubi, really thinking on what he said and remembering what it was like after he had been sealed. He had been scared and really confused after the war and he wasn't really all there during the aftermath. He had awoken in his apartment a few days later to find that Sakura had gotten with Sasuke and that Tsunade was delaying her retirement due to Naruto's condition. He had been emitting so much yaki that he had scared away any villagers within a 3-mile radius and most shinobi had a hard time staying near him as it felt like he was constantly emitting killer intent, or so Kakashi had explained. He hadn't been able to really sit down and talk about what happened and had almost immediately set off into the woods to learn to harness his abilities, but that had been a lie. He had gone there to be alone, to grieve in private and to try and deal with the hurt that was in his heart now that Sakura was gone for good. He had run from his problems, retreated into himself and used the excuse of learning to harness his new powers to do it. Granted he had been training and learning Fuinjutsu with the books that Jiraiya had on the matter, plus everything that Tsunade could get for him, but in his heart he knew that he had ran. I see you realize the truth. Jubi noted, looking at Naruto, it takes a big man to admit that he's wrong. Is that you? I won't say that you're entirely right. Naruto started, but you aren't entirely wrong either. There has been too much anger on both sides for this kind of thing to continue. What do you propose then? We start over. We start fresh and build a real partnership. Naruto offered, just like I had with Kurama. Jubi only smirked as he stepped forward and offered his hand. Partners then? Partners? Naruto nodded as they shook. The pair then turned to look at the girls. Kurumu and Yukari were still way out of it and Mizore was resisting it, but not very well as she shot Naruto a few looks that promised all sorts of interesting things if he released her. The only one in their right mind was Moka, or inner Moka he should say, as she glared at him. Are you done arguing with yourself? She asked with a glare. Because I am sick of being tied up. Why didn't you break out? Naruto asked, clearly confused. The rosary. Jubi stated she may be in her released state, but the rosary will still limit her powers. Good to know. Naruto nodded as he walked over and pulled off Moka's rosary and released her, ready to beat up a Gorgon. Always. She grinned as she grabbed the back of his head, but first. She then kissed him for all he was worth, and when she stopped Naruto was red-faced and gasping for air, wanted to get my chance to do that while I could. Hey. Kurumu shouted as she tried to break free. Leave my destined one alone. Seems like she broke out of it. Jubi mused. Any way to get them all out? Naruto asked. I can manage it. Jubi replied as he walked over to Mizore and whispered something into her ear that caused her to blink in shock before trying to slice into him with her restrained claws. Jubi only laughed as he did the same thing to Yukari, who started to cry instead before snapping out of it as Naruto released the other girls. What did you tell those two? Naruto asked. Told Mizore that she looked fat. Jubi stated as he smirked at the Uchiha, who glared at him in turn, and told Yukari that both you and Moka wanted a girl with a more womanly figure than a small child. That was mean. Naruto stated as they started following the trail of chaos that led them towards Ishigami. Did what had to be done. Jubi countered, you can make it up to them later. Naruto only shrugged at that as they quickly found Ishigami at the top of the school, laughing at the sight of all the students rampaging, as well as a good chunk of the faculty as well. Kurumu, take Yukari and fly up to the top. Hit and run tactics. Naruto ordered as the succubus nodded and grabbed the small witch, while Naruto grabbed Mizore and Jubi grabbed Moka and began running up the wall of the building. Ishigami was enjoying the sight as she stood atop the fence and watched the beautiful chaos envelop the school. Such wonderful art. She sighed just as a tarot card shot past her face and sliced one of the snakes off her hair. Don't get used to it. Kurumu shouted as she circled around and got herself and Yukari out of the line of fire. What? How are you free of the mirror's power? She shouted. Simple. We helped. Naruto stated as he leapt down at her, sending out a small ants of blood from the wounds on his knuckles, and watched as she dodged the slash and went right into the roundhouse kick from Jubi. "And you underestimated us." Jubi added as he watched her skip across the rooftop and right into Moka's descending axe kick, caving in a part of the roof as Ishigami was burying partway through it. "That was almost too easy," Naruto stated as he walked closer and heard Jubi groan. "Now you've done it. You just had to say something. Now she's going to get up and be ready for another round." Jubi grumbled as Naruto and the girls looked at him for a moment before looking at Ishigami and deciding to play it safe. Using his shadow, Naruto pulled Ishigami out of the hole and saw that she was unconscious as even her hair wasn't moving. "I guess it was that easy," Mizore remarked as they grabbed the mirror. "So how do we stop this?" "I'll go take this to Mikagami, he can handle it," Naruto replied with a shrug as he used his coat to cover the glass. "I'll come with you," Jubi replied. "Good chance to talk to Mikagami about a few things in private." "So what should we do?" Yukari asked. "Subdue the students while we sort this out," Naruto replied. "Just be careful." "Got it." They all nodded, with only a grunt from Moka. It didn't take long for them to find Mikagami, having stopped a few of the teachers from attacking the students himself. "Hey Mikagami, got the source of the problem," Naruto called out as he held up the mirror. Ishigami was using this mirror. "The Lilith mirror," he sighed. "I can handle it from here." "Did she use it on you?" "But she did," Jubi replied, "and I think it's time we had a private chat. Demon Lord Mikagami." Mikagami blinked at this before nodding and motioning for Jubi to follow him. "Naruto, please go and assist the other students and faculty members who are in control of themselves." "Okay." Naruto nodded as he nodded to the Jubi and disappeared into his own shadow. "What did you want to talk about, Jubi?" Mikagami asked. "Something that I thought I should inquire into," Jubi stated. "What is the status of the other god class yokai?" "Why do you ask? Do you plan on stirring up trouble?" "No, but you know how Naruto is. He draws trouble to him like buzzards to a carcass." "True. Though I know little of the god class yokai, except that only one is active at a time," Mikagami replied. "I am not certain as to who it would be, since the demon lords defeated Alucard." "And how did you know about my title?" "I have my means," Jubi replied. "I was not as blind to this dimension as one would think. Congrats on killing that bastard Alucard, by the way." "He isn't dead. Merely sealed." "HMPH. Then the others might not be awake yet," Jubi mused. "That might be for the best. Gives Naruto time to learn how to really use my full strength." "You're working together then?" "We finally worked out our differences," Jubi nodded. "Are you expecting a fight amongst the god class yokai?" "Not anytime soon if fortune is willing. However, we both know how well plans can go." Jubi sighed. "I am merely planning ahead. When the current god class yokai learns of my existence, they will do everything that they can to kill me once and for all. Law of one. No more than one of us awake at a time. And with you having returned to this world, you think that it is only a matter of time before they find out and react?" Mikagami nodded. "What are the odds that they won't do anything?" "Not a chance in hell," Jubi chuckled. Mikagami only nodded at this as he began his work while Jubi walked off to find Naruto. It only took 20 minutes for Mikagami to reverse the spell from the mirror, and everyone returned to normal, along with the Jubi's body disappearing and his consciousness returning to the seal. "What's the damage?" Naruto asked one of the SPC members. "Some booths were damaged and there are plenty of wounded that have been taken to the infirmary. For the most part though it was very minimal considering the timely reaction by ourselves and various students and faculty," the young man replied. "Good. Keep up the good work." Naruto nodded as he patted his arm and went off to find the girls. It was all pretty quiet in the aftermath of the craziness, and Naruto found it relaxing until he heard Kurumu calling for him, a woman walking along behind her. She looked like an older version of Kurumu with larger friezes, wearing a red mini dress and a brown fur coat over it. "There you are, Naruto Koi," Kurumu exclaimed as she hugged his arm. "Ka-chan, this is Naruto Uzumaki." "It's a pleasure." Naruto smiled as he nodded to the older woman who looked at him for a moment before speaking. "So this is Kurumu's fiancé. How far have you gotten?" she asked with a wicked smile. "Fiancé?" Naruto exclaimed as he turned towards Kurumu, who blushed and quickly whispered in his ear. "Just play along. If she finds out that I haven't gotten that far with you, she won't get off my back." "I'm not going to lie about this kind of thing," he whispered back. "This is the kind of thing that is going to get me killed." "No need to whisper your dirty talk, you two. Better to let everyone know how intimate you two are." She smiled. "Naruto Koi," Kurumu pleaded. "Ugh," Naruto groaned as he pinched the bridge of his nose, trying to find a way out of this mess. "This is the reason why I was hesitant to meet your families." "Families?" Kurumu's mom asked with a frown. "Naruto-kun," Mizore said as she walked towards him with her mom. She too was similar to Mizore as Kurama was similar to her mother, though Mizore's mother had her hair tied up in the back, indicating that it was likely longer than her daughter's. She was wearing a white kimono with a purple obi sash and tabi socks with black samurai sandals, and like her daughter, she had a temperature-controlling lollipop in her mouth. Mizore-chan. Naruto smiled as he walked over and hugged her, feeling a death glare coming from Kurama as her mother sent one her way. "So this is your boyfriend Mizore?" she asked as she ran an eye over Naruto, noting the injuries as well. "Were you involved in incident earlier today?" "I was," Naruto admitted, knowing that the worst of his injuries were all that was left. "I'm Naruto Uzumaki, and you are?" "Sarara Shirayuki, Mizore's mother." Sarara replied as she smiled at him. "I approve Mizore, he has a good face. He will make fine grandchildren for me." This earned an instant blush from the pair who looked at each other, and the blush intensified. "I guess our relationship will be heating up quite a bit," Mizore stated, causing Naruto's mind to overload and him to pass out, with the last thing he heard was Jubi laughing hysterically at his situation. The rest of the school year progressed with little incident. Naruto managed to pass all of his tests and was in the top 25% of his class, having improved compared to how he was ranked in his placements earlier in the year. At the moment he was at the closing ceremony when he saw Ruby motioning for him to come with her. Quickly using the kawarimi with a nearby bunshin, he followed Ruby to the headmaster's office, where Mikagami was waiting for him. "Naruto?" He nodded as he stood up to greet him. "Mikagami, what's up?" Naruto asked with a frown. "Nothing to be worried about," Mikagami said, letting Naruto relax. "I wanted to talk to you about something." "If this is about the stink bombs in the science lab, I have nothing to do with it," Naruto exclaimed. "What stink bombs? What?" Naruto asked in turn, as Mikagami glared at him for a moment before moving on. "No, what I wanted to tell you was this. Thank you." "Thank you? For what?" "For doing what I thought would take you years. Because of your actions, the problems that were plaguing this school have been removed in a year where I thought it would take you at least 2 to handle, with more likely popping up. Because of you quick actions and having completed everything that I had hoped for, I have completed my end of the bargain early as well. So the question I have for you now is this. Will this doorway be a one-way ticket or shall I make it a semi-permanent fixture?" So this part ends here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, so quickly like this video for second part of this series. And comment down below your thoughts about this series. And now it's time for me to go, bye.